Hi, last week I spoke about watching an episode of Star Trek that I began in 1967 and only finished watching 54 years later last week. And that got me thinking, what other TV series have really grabbed me over the years? Well, I can think of two. The first one that I became a total fan of was Miami Vice back in the mid 1980s. In fact, I can still remember the very first time I watched it, episode called Smuggler's Blues, with singer Glenn Fry playing a drug pilot in an airport. From the very first moment, it grabbed me with all the action and everything else going on there. How much was I into it? Well, I had that incredible opening theme music on my telephone answering machine at home, and I had all the soundtrack albums. I even applied for jobs in Miami and had an image of myself living in Art Deco splendor in Miami Beach. Well, that didn't happen, but I do have to say that watching Miami Vice had a permanent influence on my fashion sense, as you can tell, and gave me a taste for fast cars and dangerous women. Well, fast forward 16 years and another series grabbed me and wouldn't let me go. And that series was 24. It started in the first grim weeks after 9/11 on the theme of counterterrorism with Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer, and he just did a great job. Now, how much was I into it? Well, it didn't really affect my fashion taste, but I started writing for a fan site on Fox. I did these long, learned essays about the characters and the plots, which were, I'm sure, lost for history now. I'd really like to go back and find those, but I can't. However, there is a surviving essay that I did about 24 that's on my very own blog, Mission to Moscow. And that was called Fantasies of a 24 Obsessive. Jack Bauer is Jewish. I actually still have that essay, and I want to read you part of it that shows just what I was thinking about with the show at that time. Okay, so I wrote that it appeared. This essay appeared in January 2006 after the fifth season of 24 blasted off with two-hour episodes, and I wrote. They were packed with 4 hours of nonstop mayhem. Speculating on the Jewish aspects of the show, I wrote, the casual observer sees plenty of skulking Middle Eastern terrorists, but almost nothing in the way of overt Jewish presence. 24 approached matters of Jewish identity in season 4 with a brief appearance of a sniveling lawyer with a Jewish name who ran into the counterterrorism unit, CTU, headquarters representing a terrorist suspect. On the surface, that's it. Well, what's a Jewish 24 fan like me to do? I thought carefully about this during the season premiere. After a glass or two of Slivovitz, the Hungarian kosher plum brandy, my mind refocused and suddenly 24 emerged as the most Jewish show this side of Fiddler on the Roof with Harvey Fierstein. I started with the notion that Jack Bauer is Jewish because his real name must have been Yaakov Bauer. His last name suggested a backstory where he comes from a distinguished Lithuanian family of rabbis and scholars. Quite a background for him. Then I argued, Bauer's approach to counterterrorism work shows a lot of Talmudic subtlety. Faced with a looming immediate threat, Bauer comes to logical conclusions and always takes time to explain how he reached them. So in season 1, day 1, for example, he executes a drug dealer as part of a plan to get close to a terror suspect. But Bauer tells a colleague who's a little skeptical of his unorthodox methods, quote, that's the problem with people like you, George. You want results, but you never want to get your hands dirty. I'd start rolling up my sleeves. I'm going to need a hacksaw. Well, besides the action, 24 wowed me as an intensely quotable show. What other people do with Seinfeld, I could do with 24. Consider fan favorite character Tony Almeida. In one scene with his ex-wife Michelle, he talks about another day at the CTU office. He says, so what are we saying here? If we save LA from a nuclear bomb, then you and I can get together and for a dinner and a movie? Well, that's great stuff to me. Tony's character was so important to the show that he actually warranted his own fabulous fan site, Almeida is God. So this blog post from 2006 went on for about 1,500 more words, and I had a lot of fun writing it. No show since then has really captivated me to that degree. And after writing this piece, I want to dig into the 10,000 page wiki fan site and just kind of relive the magic from day one all the way on. So I'm going to give the last word to CTU director George Mason. He's the one who earned his angel wings in the Day 2 season by flying a plane with a nuke in it into the Mojave Desert to safely explode it. Well, as safe as a nuke can explode. Mason knew something about what really matters in life. He said so as his own clock ticked down. He said, don't wait for your life to happen to you. Find something that makes you happy and do it, because everything else is just background noise. And that, my friends, is something to think about as you listen to this.